Hi everyone, and welcome to Behind the Numbers. My name is Dave Bookbinder, and we are coming to you live from the RVN Television Studios. To my right is today's guest. He is Ian Wristbridge, who is the CEO at Magnar. Ian, welcome to Behind the Numbers.
Thank you, Dave. Glad to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you here. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about you? I want to get into your unique background a little bit later on, but a little bit about you and what Magnar is and who you serve.
Sure. I am the CEO and founder of Magnar. Magnar provides security, safety, and operational technologies for facilities in the nation's critical infrastructure.
Okay, and you've got a technology background, and you've got some unique technology that you use day to day. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. Maybe I'll start with the background. So a little bit about my personal journey. I'm a fourth generation entrepreneur, and I grew up in really around technology businesses. So my father started his technology business in the basement of the house I grew up in, which had a tremendous impact on me and decisions to start my own company. And then, a little bit about the company journey. We work very closely with a strategic partner called Sebald and Associates. These folks are the preeminent experts in maritime and chemical facility security. And really what we do with them is take the best practice security and regulatory compliance best practices, and we bake that into our technology to help our end users better comply with the regulation, but also drive operational efficiencies and improvements to both security and safety.
Yeah, and who are some of those end users?
Sure. We do business with refineries, chemical manufacturing facilities, port authorities, container terminals, cruise terminals. There are a number of different underlying businesses. The commonality with most of them is they're adjacent to a waterway, and they're high-risk facilities.
High-risk facilities, exactly. And when you talk about high risk, I know on your profile of the business, many companies talk about being purpose-driven. When I look at your website and look at your bio and so forth, it screams purpose-driven. Yeah. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, of course. It's really what animates me as an individual. It animates our team. Our purpose, or our why, is to fundamentally improve the security and safety of the United States by helping critical infrastructure facilities in the U.S. to improve their security, safety, and operational efficiencies.
And that's a great segue, because we're now going to talk about how do we do that. With so many challenges that you might face, one that comes to mind is, we'll call it the digital transformation, the technology. What do you see there? What are the big challenges around digital transformation and what you're doing?
That's a great question. We help a lot of facilities go through that process as it relates to their security and safety procedures. A big part of that challenge is change management, so avoiding kind of biting off more than you can chew for the customer. So we really come alongside of customers who are looking to go through that process, and we provide them, based on our experience and successful outcomes at other locations, help them manage that in a way that allows them to implement successful outcomes as well. So the transition process of that is critically important as it relates to the project. But the other piece of it is making sure that you're driving high levels of adoption of the technology with the users, from the management perspective as well as from the ultimate end user, which for us includes the personnel security duties, the guards, and that involves upfront onboarding, training, and then post-sale support to ensure that they are getting the greatest amount of value from the technology that they can.
Yeah, and when you think about the facilities that you are securing, I mean, these are high risk, high target facilities.
Yes.
Right?
They are, correct.
And is it fair to assume that these are constantly under some sort of attack, even if it's not visible to the naked eye as we drive past these places?
So maybe a little historical context about the industry that we serve. So the facilities that we do business with are considered high risk really after the events of 9/11.
Yeah.
So 9/11 occurred, and Congress came together and said, what can we do to better secure the homeland, and which facilities would be tremendously detrimental if attacked by terrorists or exposed to criminal activity. The focus there is trying to prevent significant damage to property, loss of life, damage to the environment, and what they refer to as inhibiting the natural or normal flow of commerce. So if one of these facilities were attacked, and it was a major attack, it could lead to one of those certainly negative outcomes. And as a result, these facilities, because of their unique underlying businesses, unique location, unique risk profile, fall under that regulatory body.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about regulation. What kind of regs do you have to regularly adhere to, and what are your client facilities adhering to?
Sure, so we have, for our existing customer base, they have to, among other regulatory requirements, they have to demonstrate compliance with what's called the Maritime Transportation Security Act, so MTSA. That's on the maritime side. There are other standards and guidelines that impact other types of facilities, such as the Chemical Facility Anti-Terrorism Standard. So this includes a number of requirements as these facilities establish what they call facility security plan. So this facility security plan is drafted by the security organization, a specific individual at these facilities. That plan is then provided to the government for approval, and once it is approved by, on the maritime side, the Coast Guard, that plan essentially becomes law of the land for that facility. So they essentially have to demonstrate compliance with their own plan, and that's what we help them do.
Yeah, how often do the regs change, Ian? Are they regularly evolving?
The regulations are fairly stable.
Okay.
However, what ends up happening is they issue policy changes that are reflective of kind of the changing environment. So over the past several years, we see this in headlines, really around the world. Cybersecurity has become more and more of a concern, certainly for these facilities as well. There are what they call IT and OT concerns, where you could have a bad actor gain access to some of the operational technologies of a facility as a result of threat vectors in the IT side of that facility, and in certain cases turn facilities into weaponize these facilities. So cybersecurity is absolutely a tremendous challenge. It's something that the policies have evolved with as that threat has evolved over time.
Yeah, I mean, cybersecurity is something that obviously everybody faces. Anybody who's watching or listening to this program, I'm sure they experience the test phishing emails from the internal IT group, right? I know in our shop we get videos, I think every 2 or 3 weeks, alerting us to the latest thing that's happening, because the bad actors in the cyber world are constantly trying to defeat whatever you've done. How do you stay ahead of that?
It is a challenge, to say the least. However, the facilities that we do business with have a lot of resources from different government bodies that coordinate to make sure that these facilities understand where the current threats lie, and provide resources and tools to help mitigate that. So it really is a collective effort, for sure.
Yeah. Ian, for folks who are watching or listening, want to learn more about you, how to contact you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Please feel free to reach us at our website, and that's www.magnar.com, or feel free to find me on LinkedIn. More than happy to connect.
Sounds good. I want to talk to you a little bit about the age of the infrastructure and how that may impact what you're doing day to day and helping to secure various facilities.
That is another challenge, to say the least. As the infrastructure ages, it introduces different risk profiles for facilities. So for our company, what we're essentially and fundamentally trying to help these facilities do is mitigate risk. So as that risk profile shifts, because of, in this example, aging infrastructure, we have to ensure that we understand how those risks are shifting, and we have to ensure that we are doing technology deployments at these facilities that allow them to mitigate or treat those risks.
Yeah, I want to ask you about a perspective, because again, in reviewing some of the things on your website, there's a blog about whether investment in security is an investment or it's a cost, and it's a perspective. And at first, I think most people might think, oh, it's just a cost. But why don't you talk about the investment component, the ROI, if you will, in security?
Yeah, another great question. There's a way of thinking with a paradigm, if you will, with the security organizations of being a call center. What our technology is attempting to do is, and we have successfully done this at facilities across the country, is to not only drive, and I keep going back to these improvements to not just security and safety, but operational efficiency. And that piece of it is critically important, because if you can begin blurring the lines between improvements to security and safety at these facilities, which are a requirement by the law and because of the impact that these facilities have on global commerce and the economy of the United States, that improvements there are critically important. But if you can begin blending and blurring the lines between improvements there and improvements to operational efficiency, you can help these facilities make improvements to their bottom line. And what that ends up doing is we help facilities change that paradigm from the security and safety organization being a call center to that organization essentially contributing in a very active way to improvements to the profitability of the facility.
Yeah, and that's a great spot for us to take a pause. Ian, don't go anywhere, sit tight. Folks out there watching and listening, don't go anywhere either. We will be right back on Behind the Numbers after we pay a few bills.
Un ataque cerebral puede ser fácil de detectar. Su ser querido no logra hablar o quizás no puede moverse, pero existe otro síntoma de ataque cerebral que muchos de nosotros no vemos. Se llama negligencia espacial y puede ocurrir durante o después de un ataque cerebral, causando movimientos visuales distorsionados. Afortunadamente, existe una solución que utiliza tecnología óptica basada en prismas durante la rehabilitación. Si usted o su ser querido experimenta un ataque cerebral, pregúntele a su doctor sobre la negligencia espacial. Encuentre más información en kesslerfoundation.org.
Weeds. I have you surrounded. You just gonna stand there? Or are you gonna take your lawn back?
We're gonna take it back.
We're gonna take it back.
With Scott's Turf Builder Triple Action, it gets 3 jobs done at once. Kills weeds, prevents crabgrass, and keeps your lawn growing strong. Glorious!
No.
Get a bag of Scott's Triple Action today. It's guaranteed.
Feed your lawn.
And Doug.
Hey man, nice base. Clearly you're a safe driver. You could save hundreds for safe driving with Liberty Mutual.
They customize your car insurance, so you only pay for what you need. Woo! We gotta go again.
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
I learned how quickly everything could be taken away. 1 minute, I was playing college football. The next, I was paralyzed. I'm Eric LeGrand. I believe I will walk again, but also know what I can do now. I'm applying my love of the game as a sports broadcaster and inspiring others along the way. Only my abilities matter. Visit Kessler Foundation on Facebook and tell us your abilities. And go to kesslerfoundation.org, where only abilities matter.
Un ataque cerebral puede ser fácil de detectar. Su ser querido no logra hablar o quizás no puede moverse, pero existe otro síntoma de ataque cerebral que muchos de nosotros no vemos. Se llama negligencia espacial y puede ocurrir durante o después de un ataque cerebral, causando movimientos visuales distorsionados. Afortunadamente, existe una solución que utiliza tecnología óptica basada en prismas durante la rehabilitación. Si usted o su ser querido experimenta un ataque cerebral, pregúntele a su doctor sobre la negligencia.
And welcome back to Behind the Numbers. I'm Dave Bookbinder, and today we are talking with Ian Wristbridge, who is the CEO of Magnar. Ian, I want to start the second segment here by talking about your journey of entrepreneurship. You teased it in the intro when you mentioned you're a 4th-generation entrepreneur. First of all, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I don't hear that very often. A lot of times, you get the second gen and maybe occasionally a third gen. So you've got entrepreneurship in your genes. I want to have you share that journey with the audience. We've got a lot of folks out there who either aspire to be entrepreneurs or are entrepreneurs, and I think your background will help give a lot of folks some confidence and inspiration. And I want to make sure that you touch on your great-grandfather as you go through the process, because you shared an interesting story with me that I think the audience might appreciate as well.
Absolutely. I appreciate the kind words. I'll start with my great-grandfather. So during the Prohibition, my great-grandfather, who lived in Atlantic City, was a rum runner. He would take the intercoastal waterway in his boat down to Cuba, stock up on rum, and bring it back to the casinos in Atlantic City. So during that time, the U.S. Coast Guard was given a lot of its law enforcement authority to prevent rum running and during the Prohibition there. So a few generations later, I start my business, and my company helps facilities demonstrate compliance with regulation that's enforced by the U.S. Coast Guard. So I think that we joke in our family, and I'm pretty sure my grandfather's rolling over in his grave. But from my perspective, I'm paying for sins of the father, so to speak.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all meant to be. It's kind of a circle of life moment, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So before we came on, when we were in the green room preparing to come back here, we were talking about risk, and entrepreneurs always are obviously taking risk. But I think you had an interesting perspective because you grew up in an entrepreneurial family, and your perspective on risk was a little different than, say, mine, where we weren't entrepreneurs. Share that, if you would.
Yeah, the way I look at it is it's largely happenstance. I just happened to be born into a family where that entrepreneurial spirit was alive. And as a result, I grew up, as I mentioned earlier, around businesses. And that exposure, I think, has fundamentally shifted the way that I perceive risk. I like to share sometimes that what appears to be the safest path may be the risky one. And I think the only difference is that, from my experience compared to somebody who doesn't have that experience, it's just exposure to the type of challenges that are associated with entrepreneurship. And because of that, it was kind of old hat when I decided to start my own business. Yeah,
so maybe it didn't feel quite as risky for you as it might feel for somebody else.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I love that perspective. So as an entrepreneur, and I've met and worked with and interviewed many entrepreneurs, business owners, CEOs, and one of the themes I always hear is it's lonely at the top. So I want to ask you about how important it is to surround yourself with good people.
I think it's critically important, both from the perspective of the team that you have, making sure that you are really being purpose-driven in the company, I think is one of the most important things. Because when you are clear on your purpose, you can weather some of the most challenging storms. And you're absolutely right. It can be a very, very lonely journey. And there are undoubtedly challenges along the way. And when you understand your purpose, you can fight through that because you're anchoring your motivation to something that's bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
So understanding your purpose, I think, without a doubt, is step number one. But once you understand that has a tremendous impact on animating action for you individually. You then have to be able to communicate that effectively to your team, and are selecting team members that align not just with that purpose, align with the values of the company, which are the building blocks of your culture, and understand and buy into the vision. If you can do that with your core team, now what you start building is something that can allow you to achieve that vision, allow you to achieve that purpose. But I don't think it ends there. I think you have to also kind of pan the camera out a little bit and look at the support system around you. So do your family buy in with the purpose? Do they understand what you're trying to do? And then you kind of pan the camera out a little bit further and look at the advisors and the mentors that you have. Do they have the necessary experience to help you accelerate success. And that has absolutely been my experience. I am without a doubt blessed by having in my father a seasoned entrepreneur who's gone through so much over his career. I mentioned our partners at Sebald & Associates. I have an incredibly close relationship with the founder and CEO of that company. He's been a tremendous mentor to me, but our board of directors are just amazing people who have accomplished so much, and then mentors outside of that scope. So making sure that you have your core team aligned with that purpose, and then as you look at those kind of concentric circles going out from that everybody understands what you're trying to do and buys into that and are there to support you through the journey.
Yeah, a lot of great things in there, but one of the things I just want to highlight for the folks who are watching and listening is it's about being open to advice from others and being aware that we all have blind spots and that you don't know everything. We all can't know everything, but there are other folks who can and can help you and protect you and watch you that way. Yes. So really solid advice. So as an entrepreneur, you've had successes, you've had failures, you've learned a few things along the way. What are some of those lessons that you might want to share with the folks who are out listening and leaning into the speaker right now? Eager to hear your next thought. Absolutely. As I'm kind of going down that list in my mind, there are more lessons learned, I think, since starting Magnar than any other concentrated period of my life, including university. And it is because it's such a challenge, because it's a lonely journey. And every single time you encounter one of those challenges, it gives you an opportunity to learn. So I think one of the learnings that I've taken away from this journey is a shift in thinking from win or lose. And I think this is critical for leaders to understand as you're thinking about coaching your team, is a shift in thinking from win or lose to win or learn. So it's this idea of we will inevitably encounter failures. How can we fail forward? How can we learn from that experience so that we're driving continual improvement? It's the foundation, from my perspective, of a growth mindset. So without a doubt, I think that idea of continual improvement and growth mindset is critical. A different perspective, similar to the perspective on risk, but the perspective on failure. Failure being a teacher if you approach it the right way. I would say that has been the most transformative for me, but you mentioned blind spots, and that's probably another one that is I've become more and more sensitive to over time, is this idea of unknown unknowns. So we all have blind spots. We know where some of those blind spots are. It's the areas, the blind spots that we don't even know which direction they're in, are the ones that are the most challenging to tease out, and the ones that you have to lean very heavily into that support structure that we were discussing earlier. Yeah, I like that idea about leaning into the failure as an opportunity to start again. I think I'm not going to even try to use the quote from Henry Ford, failure is an opportunity to start again more successfully, or something to that effect. But the idea is that you learn from failures, and I think that's a recurring theme that I've certainly heard from entrepreneurs throughout my career, honestly. Ian, for anybody who wants to learn more about you, contact you, pick your brain, what have you, or get an autograph, how can they contact you? Sure. Please feel free to reach us at our website, and that's www.magnar.com, or feel free to find me on LinkedIn. More than happy to connect. So you're a very thoughtful entrepreneur. You're well-read, well-spoken, and you clearly appreciate the team. So I'm going to ask you, just generally for the audience, to define leadership. What does it mean to you to wake up every day to be responsible for an organization, for people, their livelihood, not to mention the magnitude of what you're doing in your so-called day job? I think the basis of leadership is humility. We were talking about blind spots earlier. I think ego is something that introduces blind spots, and introduces blind spots to leaders in a disproportionate way to other folks in the organizational structure.
So I think leadership begins with humility, and I think to carry that in a very natural way, it leads to servant leadership. So I really view myself as somebody who is trying to do the best by the members of our team. So I almost view them internally as customers. In the same way that I interact with the customer, I view my employees kind of in that same kind of category. So how can I come alongside of you to help you achieve your personal goals? Where are your strengths and weaknesses right now? How can we double down on what's working? And what can we do to collaboratively resolve things that are not working? Do so in a way where I'm not browbeating you for it.
Yeah.
We're all human, no one's perfect. But do it in a way where you're continually improving, and that individual growth is contributing to the collective growth of the organization.
Yeah, I love that. You talked a lot about purpose, your team's purpose. Do you find that you can hire people with the passion for the purpose coming in, or is it more, I can give them the glass of proverbial Kool-Aid and help them develop their passion for this?
The passion piece on the hiring side is very, very difficult to tease out. Sometimes you can tease it out based on the professional trajectory that individual has taken. Where have they worked in the past? Do those sorts of organizations have a similar type of shared purpose as our organization? But you look for you look for cues after the hiring process to ensure, is there alignment here? And I mentioned that working, not working. I refer to that as a mindfulness step. And during our monthly one-on-one meetings, I have a one-on-one meeting with every member of our team. It's a part of our agenda, and it provides an opportunity to go both ways with it. So both parties, myself and the employee that I'm speaking with, has now a platform, a forum, to say, these are the things I think are not working, these are the things that are working, and it provides us with an ability to again double down on what is working and help resolve what's not. In those meetings, in the lead up, I'm looking for areas in the behavior of the employee and the performance of the employee that seem to reflect a dissonance between our purpose and a dissonance between the values we have as a company, the behaviors that we really try to emulate individually. And when that occurs, that monthly one-on-one meeting is the perfect opportunity to, in a very constructive way, bring that up and collaboratively work with the employee to kind of get things back on the rails.
Nice. Ian, we're just about to the end here, so I'm going to put you on the clock. You've got 60 seconds. I'm going to give you the opportunity for the final word. Either share with us what's on the horizon for Magnar, what's next, or any lesson that or words of wisdom you'd like to share with the entrepreneurs out there in the audience. Your choice. Maybe I'll take the former. So Magnar is in a very exciting phase. We are rapidly kind of accelerating through an inflection point in the company's growth, and are bringing in funds. We're going through our first fundraising round right now, which has been extremely exciting and a lot of fun. And really what we're doing is maintaining a laser focus on our purpose and on the mission and the end users that we serve in critical infrastructure facilities. That's awesome. I wish I had more time with you, but unfortunately it goes quickly here and we are out of time. So thank you for joining us today on Behind the Numbers.
Thanks for having me.
We've been talking with Ian Wristbridge, who is the CEO of Magnar. We learned a lot about his business and a lot about leadership and what it means to be a CEO. My name is Dave Bookbinder, and my clients turn to me when they want to know what their most important assets are worth. I'm known for helping them in valuing their businesses. So if you're a business owner and you don't know what your business is worth, we should have a conversation. You can certainly find me on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to chat. Thanks to the Big Cheese for running the board today, as always, and thank you for watching and listening. We can't do this show without you, so thank you for your continued support. That's it for today, gang. We'll see you next time on Behind the Numbers.